Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Three Drams. As always, I'm your host, Matt Healy, also known as Pot Stilled Matt. I am delighted to be here bringing you episode 39. That is 39 different months. It's actually, if you remember the very first episode, it was a tester month. That makes 40 episodes of Three Drams over all these number of years. I am delighted this evening to be joined by a number of guests. Of course, we are bringing Irish whiskey to your door wherever you subscribe. We're getting it right to you. You're going to have a pack just like this dropped straight to your door with three fantastic Irish whiskies that look just like this. Remember, folks, these are the makers, creators, and flavor wizards of the world of Irish whiskey, and it is your chance to sip along with us, and also, of course, ask them in the comments section whether what your burning questions are for these whiskies. As always, I want to say a very big thank you to the guys at Irish Malts and Three Drams. They are the ones who put this all together. As always, I say that I am just the pretty face that gets to show up and talk whiskey with you. There is a team behind this in Irish Malts HQ that put this together every month, from sourcing the whiskies, getting packs to you all across the world, and of course organize these months and months in ahead. So again, a very big welcome to you all. I'm glad to see a number of our friends are joining us again this evening. We have Alan coming in from Galway. We have a number of our friends coming in from the German contingent of the Three Drams fans, and of course we also have a number of our whiskey clubs in Ireland joining along with us this evening. We have three whiskies. We have a very fun and differentiated lineup this evening, so I am delighted to be bringing this to you. First, we do have a single malt, then we have a brand new blended Irish whiskey, and we're topping it off with a single cask, single pot still whiskey. So we have the full gambit of Irish whiskey this evening. But as always, a very big thank you to both you guys watching at home, our guests, and of course the O'Donovan brothers. John O'Donovan, who is the owner and head of Irish Malts, puts this all together. And of course, guys, don't forget that if you are a subscriber to Three Drams, you will get a discount code in your inbox at approximately 8:45. That will let you buy all of the whiskies independently of each other and get a discount shipped directly to your door if you only like one or two and you wanted to ship them to your house. But of course, we're going to love all three, and there's a discount code there that'll give you full discounts on all three whiskies directly to your door. But I hear you say that's not all, because it is our January sale in Irish Malts. The Teeling Pot Still, which is going to be the third whiskey this evening, is actually in the January sale. So I believe there's €10 off this bottle, and if you are a member of Three Drams, you'll get an additional 10% off the discounted price. So it's a tenner and 10% off the discounted code. Because did we think about that beforehand? No, we didn't. And when we realized it, we decided we'd leave it in, because why not? But I am delighted that is the big discount of the evening. But of course, listen, I know we're not here to listen to me. We're here to drink and sample some fantastic Irish whiskies. So without further ado, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to bring in our first guest of the evening. I'm going to bring in Mr. Sean McKay from Achill Island Distillers, and we're going to have our first whiskey of the evening. This is the Achill Island Bordeaux Aged Single Malt. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing?
That's good to be here, man. How are you doing?
I'm absolutely flying. A very big welcome to you, our first guest of the new year. I have my glass bottle Iberone here, so I'm just going to pour some of this into my glass. But while I'm doing that, for those at home that don't know you or Achill Island Distillers, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you guys are, and then maybe we go into the whiskey we have in the glass.
Yeah, so we're a family business first and foremost, and we have the honour of being the very first island distillery in the country. So Achill Island, as you'll see from the whiskey you're tasting here, gives a very kind of unique microclimate into the aging of the whiskey. And we found with our single malts, the fact that you get a bit more temperate, warmer climate during the winter, and then a little bit cooler in the summer, it allows a very kind of even aging process or interaction with the wood throughout the years. I suppose I have to go a little bit back further. Our distilleries, we've been distilling for the last 5 years now, but we started out life like most whiskey companies as a whiskey bonder through our flagship brand, the Irish American Trading Company. So we started that about 10 years ago, and it was my father who founded the company. because he wanted to create an Irish brand for the Irish diaspora. It wasn't just shamrocks and leprechauns. So for following on from that, the success of the Irish American brand led us to build our own distillery here on Achill Island in County Mayo. And just last year we launched a range of single malt whiskies, and at the end of last year we just also launched our first pot still whiskey as well. What we're going to be tasting tonight is a 3.5-year-old single malt, that are what we like to call island strength, so it's 44% alcohol, and it has been aged in bourbon casks for 3 years and has been finished then in a red wine Bordeaux cask for another 6 months.
Perfect. So why don't we have a little look at this now? So that's an absolutely lovely color, Drams 1 right there. So that's your Bordeaux finished single malt. I'm going to say Sláinte, but then I do want to know, what was the selection process like getting into deciding on the Bordeaux? So I'm going to have a little, say Sláinte, say cheers, have a little sip, and then let's have a little talk about it.
No, so the Bordeaux kind of came about. I had tasted a few different whiskies before we even started this distillery journey. And I came across a nice tasting Bordeaux Scotch whiskey, I think, about 6 years ago. Forgive me for mentioning the Scotch whiskey and Irish Drams, but I just like the character that the red wine imparted into the whiskey. And I remember at the time we were just doing our first few orders of barrels, and I said to my brother, look, we need to not just be doing all first fill, bourbon casks. We need to have a little bit of variety. And I finally convinced them that we should have some what we call tropical casks. And for want of better, that's what we call them here. Anything outside of bourbon, we call it exotic or tropical. I convinced him that we should buy some red wine Bordeaux casks, and he was okay with that until he seen the price of them, because we did source them from one of the best wine cellars in France, the famed Lynch cellars. So just to kind of bring it back to have a little bit more of a Western Ireland connection, because the heritage of the Lynch winery would have come back from 100 or so years ago, back with Irish earls that went over to France and set up their own wineries. So yes, a little bit of the flavour profile I liked, and we just loved the way that it can round out the whiskey lovely, So you still get a little bit of the sweetness from the young malts with the bourbon cask, and then I find personally that the Bordeaux just gives a little bit of depth, and a little bit you get a little bit more oils from the cask as well, because it doesn't have that char on the inside of the barrel. It's just toasted the regular wine cask. So I just like the combination of how they all work out. So it was a little bit randomly. I was tasting a Bordeaux cask years ago, and I was like, I just kind of stuck with me. So I kind of put my foot down on that one.
A man in his convictions, huh? So in general, is this a limited edition whiskey that you're bringing out, or is this now core range
No, this is one of our core range. So like the first one we brought out for Whiskey Live early in the year was our flagship Achill whiskey, which is a single malt, aged exclusively in first fill bourbon casks. Then we have Achill Island Bordeaux cask, and we also just recently done a cask strength peated whiskey. So these are all our first batch. So later this year now we'll progress on to our second batch, which will be they'll all be another year over, so you can taste one batch to the other as the whiskey ages up a little bit. So what I envision is the single malt at that age range. I think it's gonna for these finishes, I think they're gonna, at this price point, I think they're gonna hit their peak around 5 or 6 years. So I think that's maybe when we'll stop doing the batches, and these will be our core range of 3 whiskey styles of single malts. We'll also have pot stills and other exciting stuff coming down the line. But that'll be our first 3 batches. Will be one will be a 3+, the second batch will be 4 years plus, the third and probably final batch will be 5+ years, and then from then on it will it'll be a minimum of 5 years old going through.
That makes sense, and it's great to see. It's funny when I think of all the distilleries in Ireland, you'd be forgiven to forget how old some of the new distilleries are. You know, it's even when you said there the introduction, you've been distilling for 5 years. Because I remember the distillery opening, and I remember the stills being brought across to the island, and it feels so short ago in my in the grand scheme. Maybe it's because COVID is just like a blank of 2 years.
I think COVID has something to do with that, because it feels like there was just 2 years where nothing happened, and it's just like no memorable kind of events around the world or anything. It was just shut down, so it doesn't feel like that long ago. So, but yeah, no, the time really does fly, and we're steadily producing some really great spirit here, and just due to a few things that we do, if you've got any kind of whiskey aficionados on board. Most people will say to you that single malts, you tend to have to age them for 5 to 6 years, because they generally take quite a bit of time to mellow in the cask. But again, that's probably maybe the case with much larger distilleries than ours that are producing in big volumes, whereas being a craft distillery, we're kind of very focused on every aspect of the distilling process, especially since that we had a master brewer who's now our head distiller, and he really put a lot of insight into the fermentation and the brewing of the malt, and so much so that he actually made sure that we ferment our wash for at least 7 days. So the industry standard would be about 2.5 to 3 days for your fermentation process, but we do it for a full 7 days. And what we found is that you don't get any benefit in terms of extra alcohol collection, but you do get better flavors, a sweeter whiskey coming off your still. So that's just a little bit of that's my own personal take on how it's tasting so good at such a young age.
Yeah, and in terms of the Irish American range you already have, what is, I suppose, your own spirit coming on stream mean for that brand?
So, well, just the reaction we've got to Achill here, the Achill Island single malts domestically in Ireland, has been huge over the last 8 months since we launched it. And we're finding that the Irish American brand is performing much stronger internationally. As much as quite a lot of people in Ireland would know where Achill Island is and the beauty of the island, it's a very popular tourist destination. As soon as you kind of go outside of Ireland, or even as far away as England, a lot of people don't know where Achill is or what it is, so you're having to kind of create a whole new brand from scratch with Achill. So what our vision is that Achill Island will grow here domestically, and we'll let it happen naturally, as opposed to trying to force it into international markets where our Irish American brand is already quite strong. So that's the way we kind of see the future going for both of them. And eventually in time, our Irish American 5 and 10 year olds and 19 plus, that would always have been sourced whiskies from different distilleries around the country. But as our own stock ages out, it will supply all the brands that we produce.
Absolutely fantastic. I'm sure people will be very excited to see those your own spirit come through in those brands are able to get abroad as well. I'm seeing a few people dropping in saying hello. Grzegorz, welcome to the show. Carlos, of course, a very big welcome to you. I'm seeing one comment here saying lovely, smooth mouthfeel, pleasant finish to, and very drinkable. I have to agree. As I'm sipping on it here, I love it. It's quite differentiated. The world of Irish whiskey can be very crowded with similar flavors sometimes, and I think that this is a really nice, refreshing departure from making its own statement in terms of flavor profile, which I'm really enjoying. What price point did you say that this is going to sit at, this whiskey?
So this range of whiskies, the Bordeaux single malt and the bourbon, they retail around €4 to €5. And we'd like to get it a little bit lower if we could, but the 44%, the duty on that just brings it up a little bit. So it kind of has to be in that kind of mid €40 range. So anywhere, I think retailing it's anywhere between 45 and 47. We sell it a little bit cheaper here in the distillery at about 44, 45 euros. I believe online it goes for about 47, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I haven't checked the Irish Malts website in a couple of days, so
that's all right.
And stuff.
And if people did want to come down and see the distillery, do you have tour facilities available for people to drop into you?
Facilities available. So actually, what we did last summer was we kind of scrapped the booking system that we had to implement for COVID, because we found that we were turning people away. And so if you want to visit the distillery, if you're a group smaller than 6 people, we just accept walk-ins, and there's no charge. So there's always going to be someone here 7 days a week making whiskey. So if it's not myself or my brother or a distiller Ken or any of the apprentices we have working here, someone will be here to show you around and sample you on some of our whiskey or gin or vodka or whatever you prefer.
Absolutely. And I know that, of course, if as you're tasting along at home, guys, or watching back after the fact, of course, it is available on Irish Malts. If you're watching currently as we're live or in the day or two afterwards, of course, the discount code will be available to you to drop to your door anywhere around the world where it is legal to do so. But if people are looking for Achill Island outside of Ireland, I'm trying to understand between the Irish American and Achill Island. Is Achill Island exported, or is it?
No. Like literally, we haven't even looked at exporting just yet because these products only just came online last summer, really, essentially for us, and it was a little bit of a test the market situation for us to see which ones would perform better. And I think out of the 3 whiskies that we have, this is actually probably the best seller, the Bordeaux cask. So it was something we were to sell here from the distillery, obviously with you guys on Irish Malts, and you can pick it up in most super values as well. So that's pretty much as available as it is. We'll be expanding that obviously as the year goes on. Yeah, it's just for the domestic market at the moment.
Fantastic. Carlos saying 47 euro on Irish Malts, and he grabbed one the day it came out. Very tasty. So, not only a resounding positive from Carlos, but he also checked the price. So if people were to go away, having just met you on 3 Drams, what are the kind of key takeaways? Your elevator pitch, 30 seconds. What do you want people to know about your distillery, this whiskey, or the whiskeys they can get abroad?
I suppose that first and foremost, we're a family business and we focus on quality in everything we do. We painstake over every single drop of whiskey that we make here. Probably to the detriment of our health, we taste every drop that goes through the centre cut, every couple of 100 litres. So that's normally done in the morning, and everyone kind of sobers up with a nice hearty lunch. But we specialise in making single malt and single process whiskies, and we aim to make really high quality spirits at not budget breaking prices. We try to get it out there as affordable as possible.
47 euro tells me as affordable as possible for an own distilled single malt. I've seen some own distilled single malts in the hundreds, in the high hundreds.
That's what we're kind of looking at, and when we price our products, you could easily get caught up in this is your first batch, and it's very special to us. So we feel like sometimes we should charge a little bit more, but then you got to take into account that the price of everything's gone up for everyone these days, and you want your consumer to actually go and enjoy the whiskey, and then maybe buy a second bottle, because I know myself, if I spend over 100 euros on a bottle of whiskey or anything, I kind of go, I'll leave that for a special occasion. Whereas if it's below 50 euro, I'm going to go, I'll try that tonight now on Friday or Saturday night with my mates and enjoy it, and then come back and maybe get another one, and then have a new kind of, not so much a special occasion whiskey, a weekend whiskey, as I like to call it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's also what I think differentiates us from our aforementioned Scottish cousins. I find the kind of Scotch mentality very much. You've arrived, you got promoted, you had your first kid, you got whatever, you had a good week at work, you treat yourself to an expensive Scotch. Whereas for Irish whiskey, I feel like we're very much bring the friends around, have a few subs on a Friday night, like that's. And for this Dram number 101, like that's absolutely what I would do. I'm already thinking about it. My mate lives across the road. I'm thinking about next Friday night now for bring a bottle over to him. So it's exactly the mindset it's put me into.
Yeah, like that's what we want. If you have it and it's good enough that anyone will enjoy it, but you're not watching them pour it out. Go, Jesus, maybe don't pour so much of that out into your glass. You know what I mean? That's every drop is €10. You won't be enjoying it yourself then.
Exactly. Well, Sean, thank you so much. I really appreciated your time. Thank you for taking us through this fantastic whiskey, and to open 2024 with an own distilled Irish whiskey from one of the newer distilleries in the market has absolutely been fantastic. So thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Cheers.
Sláinte. So I am delighted. I mean, what a way to start 2024. Own distilled whiskey, absolutely fantastic. 44% single malts. I don't have any complaints. €47, absolutely no complaints. So let's continue this train of absolute positivity for the first 3 drams of the year with a brand new Irish whiskey, Dram number 2, Iveragall. This is Outwalker Irish whiskey, and we are joined by Gary Flynn from Outwalker. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing?
Lovely. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem at all. I am going to do exactly what I always do. This is Dram number 2, Iveragall right here, Iveragall, and I am already seeing Carlos saying this is the one he's most curious about. So I am going to pour some into my glass here. On the very first 3 drams, I pre-poured half of each little bottle into my glass, and I didn't pour them on stream, and I got accused of having special samples from all of the whiskey brands. So ever since I pour it on camera, just to show you, I'm drinking along for the first time with you guys. But enough of that. Gary, tell us all about Outwalker and what Mr. Gary does with Outwalker Irish whiskey. And I'm going to launch it, have a little nose of this here.
Well, I'm pouring from my 70 cl bottle at home because I want to keep the little memento for our first appearance on 3 Drams. So my name's Gary. I'm from Belfast. I have the privilege of having the brand manager role for a breakthrough whiskey brand called Outwalker Irish Whiskey. We launched in Belfast back in October, at which stage I was running a company called Alchemy Distill, which specialised in working with a lot of owner-operated small batch producers. The likes of Wayward Irish Spirits, New Era Spirits, Garden County, a lot of the southern kind of family operated legacy businesses, helping them find pathways into international markets. So that brought me across a launch event in a beautiful location in Belfast where I wasn't supposed to be there, and I met all 4 founders. And had a taste of the liquid with Gillian Voss, one of the founders, and a very famous bartender who curated the liquid. So I had got a bit of a sense that this was a brand that was built to go somewhere very, very fast. So I jumped on board really, and it's been a really interesting couple of months, and we're now on the cusp of some real market activity across Ireland and Europe and North America. So it's been some journey in a few months.
Absolutely. I'm going to pull the cover page back up just so people get to see the bottle there. So that's the bottle you had in your hand. Excuse me, Outwalker, and a healthy 44.5% ABV. Pardon me. So you're obviously naming some of the founders there, famous on the other side of the Atlantic as well as on this side of the Atlantic. Are we going to see Outwalker launching in multiple markets then?
We are. Our first port of call, conveniently for this session, our first port of call was Irish Malts as a cornerstone. So we're with Irish Malts, Celtic Whiskey, James Fox down south, and we're launching our Musgrave and Drinksink distribution deal in Belfast on Monday the 5th. And then we're down in 1661 for a takeover on Tuesday, the 6th. And that's open to the public, actually. So that's going to be going on the socials over the next 48 hours or so. I know that you have a big European contingent here. So I'm delighted to be able to tell you that we've just done a deal with the company are called Bee Makers. And they are a wholesale and e-commerce company who cover 7 European countries, including Germany, which I believe quite a few of your followers are from.
They are.
And we've just spent last week in New York with an importer called Barnaby Hawken, and with the black books that come along with 2 of our founders in particular, co-founder of Dead Rabbit, Sean Muldoon, and Sean's creative czar, Gillian Voss. So these guys got together with Darren Cave, who some people may know as a former Ireland and Ulster rugby player, and Adrian McLaughlin, who's a prominent hotelier. So they came together to make this whiskey. Gillian created the blend and was the creative driving force. And this will be the pouring whiskey in their new joint venture, which is a pub called Hazel and Apple, which is going to be launching, it looks like the 3rd quarter of this year in Charleston in South Carolina.
I'm looking forward to King Street in Charleston already has one hub of Irish hospitality, and you're going to have the second beacon of Irish hospitality in there. I can't wait to see what it does for that destination in particular. I'm very excited. It's a city close to my heart.
Okay, cool. I'm yet to visit, but I believe it's a beautiful place to live and very celebrated place to live. And it's kind of the spiritual home. We've got 2 home markets really here in Ireland, and then in America with New York and South Carolina. And then New Jersey is obviously a very, very high yielding Irish whiskey market. So we're looking at that at the same time. But having those guys along with us and being the pouring whiskey designed is by a bartender, for bartenders, with a very distinct female orientation in the makeup of the liquid. We've got a really exciting project ahead of us.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm going to say Sláinte. Have a little nose of this and take a little sip. So thank you very much. Delighted. This is my first sip now with all of you guys. So enjoy it. And again, I'm going to pull up the bottle just so everyone can see it. This is what we're tasting. It's brand new to the market. So obviously, lovely embossed bottle there with your Outwalker motif, and then of course bottom strap label. Excuse me. So and Shagorsh again in for the Sláinte. So I'm delighted to see you guys at home trying along with us. Of course, let us know your thoughts as you're trying it with us. Gary, so with such a celebrated bar background behind the whiskey, is the aim of this to be on premise in most markets, or is this going to be kind of a mixture of both, or an off premise but choice pouring partners?
Yeah, I think there was a feeling across the team 3 years ago when they started this project that there was a gap in the market, and that gap would continue to expand in the absence of a speciality whiskey curated specifically for it. And that high strength blended versatile Irish whiskey that had a brand and a market position that could resonate in the local market, but also have the commercial firepower and versatility in order to encroach into other markets. So Gillian designed the liquid around 4 components to give it a particular versatility, to make it adaptable as a base ingredient for cocktails, as a really solid base spirit for spirit mixers, and we're working with 3 Cents and Poachers on that element for a lot of an on-premise piece. But also the final component, which is the one that speaks to me the loudest, is the pot still Oloroso sherry aged finish, and that to me really qualifies it as qualifies the whiskey as a sipping whiskey, and that's how I tend to have my whiskey, with a beer or a stout and neat. Very rarely on the rocks, or very rarely with a mixer, and only in a cocktail, really in a working environment. So the liquid has that versatility is manifest itself through the work that we've done so far with bartenders, and working quite a lot with some influencers who we're getting together in Belfast actually next Monday for a bit of a session of alchemy and conversations along with the founders. So we're bringing our bartenders and our mixologists to the table to help us curate repeatable serves across the on-trade. So the short answer to your question was, it's been designed to be able to be everything in the on-trade and retail, and we're working with our wholesale and retail partners right across the board on visibility in store and added value activation in packaging and social media.
And do you see this kind of rolling out across the world then, or is this going to be focused on your 2 home markets that you're launching in at the moment?
The remit at the minute is to build and deliver on a very brand-centric distribution and promotion strategy in the home markets, Ireland and New York being those 2 home markets specifically. That hasn't stopped us adding international distribution, but what we do in both the home markets will shape what we do in the third-party markets, right through from what we took as a 3-tier approach, targeting 0.5%, rather than trying to sell cases and sell bottles as a new brand with a bit of caliber in the locker room. We decided that our initiative for the first quarter, until before this big distribution, was to, I suppose, use the contacts and use the expertise that we had in the team to target the absolute priority accounts who are characterized by innovating with their liquids, investing in their infrastructure and their staff, and progressive when it comes to the new concepts and new ideas. So we've been able to do that successfully in this first phase, and now we are about to transition into phase 3, having had the launch period, having had my first phase 1, which now kind of comes to an end at the end of this month, and we step into some kind of fairly visible partnered up activity. So that's a format that we're going to deliver, and we've been building the bricks to deliver that into our European primary targets, which are Spain, Germany, Holland, and Greece.
So for me, I mean, that's a bumper plan going out there. For the actual blend itself, are you able to tell us a little bit about, I suppose, what Gillian put into the product? Because this is I saw someone who was saying is a sweet butterscotch on the nose, but even on the palate is very viscous, creamy. There's like, it's almost like it's sweet, but there's not just wood sweetness. There's like it's almost like a creamy tropical juice or something in the background.
Yeah,
it's very expressive.
You've said so much. You've said so much. You've got like most of it in there. There are 4 components to this blend. It's got a double grain spine, which constitutes 80% of the liquid itself. And I should say at this stage that this is a collaboration with we blend this down in Great Northern. And it took about 2.5 years from first lips on liquid to actually a finished product. But the double grain backbone, which makes up 80% of the liquid, is half of that is rye, which is where you're going to get a lot of that sweetness from, and then the oak, which is going to give you that, good solid Irish whiskey backbone. Then we've built on that with an ex-Oloroso sherry pot still finish, which I've mentioned, and then the thing which brings a lot of people to the table, and one which I've experienced a lot on tabletop tastings when we're doing Christmas markets and gifting, is that a lot of people have kind of played into, there's a single malt Burgundy finish, and that I feel has opened it up, and I've experienced it on the ground with a lot of people who would profess to be non-whiskey drinkers, and my response to that, being a whiskey lover, is that you just haven't found the right whiskey yet, or the right whiskey hasn't found you yet. So I found that those 4 components, and it kind of gives us a card to play for every palate. So the Burgundy, the oak, the rye, and then the sherry, I feel, and the experience that I'm having on the ground with bartenders and consumers, is that versatility really gives us a competitive advantage, whether we're working with barmen or whether we're doing tabletop or international exhibitions.
Absolutely fantastic. Because it for me, it absolutely just jumps out of that glass. It's incredibly expressive, both on the nose and on the palate. For retail in the south or in the north, what are you looking at for retail price?
We're 45 sterling in the north here. Our benchmark down there with Irish malts is €50. And I think we have parity across the board there. And that's €55 in the EU and $55 in the States. But we're really trying our best to get the States down to $50, because if you're going to be a speed rail operator in New York, and you want to be on the menu, they won't spend more than $50. So that's the challenge we have in the scaling up and getting the scale of economies in our procurement to allow us to step into that key market at a key price point.
Absolutely fantastic. If you had a 30-second elevator pitch for those at home, if someone joined in late, just as we wrap up here, what are the most important factors of this that you want people to take away about Outwalker Irish Whiskey?
I suppose I would say that this is a bottle full of passion and alchemy, and it's been curated by world-class alchemists and bartenders. There's a very clear vision in terms of the brand positioning and the functionality of the liquid. It's been designed to accommodate existing palates within the whiskey-loving demographic, but we expect to also to be able to bring lots of other new consumers, particularly millennials and females, which our social media data would suggest is that we have a real hook with, is to bring new people into that category. And we're designed by bartenders for bartenders, with a bold spirit at the core of everything we do in the bottle and in the market.
Well, thank you so much, Gary. I appreciate it. Of course, everyone who is at home trying this along with us, you're going to have that discount code in your inbox in 3 minutes. Of course, if you love what you're trying here, and I know Connor and I myself in the comments section are really enjoying it, make sure to use that discount code to get a bottle of Outwalker sent directly to your door where it is legal to do so. Gary, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you taking time out of your evening to come talk to us about Outwalker Irish Whiskey.
Slotcha, thank you.
Thanks very much. Well, We've had own distilled Irish whiskey from the west of Ireland. We've had an absolutely phenomenal brand new blended Irish whiskey, which I'm still shook with absolute flavor profile. I've very rarely found a blended whiskey with such a unique and bursting, juicy flavor profile. And if you have watched this before, you know I'm very biased to anything with a tropical fruit note. So maybe this is one that's just made for me. But dram number 3 this evening is fantastic whiskey that is a collaboration between Teeling and Irish malts. This is a brand new single cask, and I am delighted to be joined by Mr. Adam Wall from Teeling. Adam,
how's it going?
Welcome. How are you doing to the show?
How are we?
You know what? We've had 2 fantastic whiskeys up to here. I don't think it can go anywhere but up. Of course, we have a brand new single cask collaboration between Irish malts and Teeling. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what this whiskey is as I pour it in the glass?
Yeah, no problem. So my name is Adam Wall. I am the distillery brand ambassador for Teeling whiskey. What we're having today is going to be a pot still style whiskey, completely matured in Bordeaux red wine casks, and it was hand selected by the guys at Irish Malts. So we obviously brought them up to the warehouse. We had obviously a great day. Unfortunately, I wasn't around for the choosing of the cask, which still a little bit bitter about, but that's okay. But yeah, brought them up, chose a cask by hand, and yeah, we were limited to 300 bottles, if I'm not mistaken. So very limited on this bottling. So that little deal you have going on with the 10% plus the tenner off, like I'd say hop on that as fast as you guys can. As well, look, it's cask strength, it's 59.9%. So we're kind of ending this off with a bang as well. But yeah, it's an incredible little whiskey. Like, it's bursting with fruits. You get a little bit of spice in there as well. A lot of character as well from both our malt perspective of 50-50 on the actual mash bill. So 50% malt, 50% unmalted barley. We have a white wine fermentation process for all of our whiskey we do in Teeling as well. So that tropical fruit that you're talking about that you kind of like, it's going to be in all of our whiskeys as well. So it's always going to be a little through line in all of Teeling whiskeys with that white wine yeast. Triple distilled, of course, in the heart of Dublin city centre, and then straight into that Bordeaux cask for in and around 6 to 7 years. So it's a fairly potent little dram. It's good though. It's nice. I like it.
Absolutely. I'm going to do a little cheers because I really want to jump into it. So sláinte.
Sláinte. Yeah, it just goes down so easy. Lovely long finish on that, right down to the chest. Absolutely gorgeous.
There's a lovely bit of pasta spice on as well.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about selecting a cask from Teeling? You gave us a brief insight, but for those special few who get to go on a day out with the Teeling crew, talk to me like an absolute beginner. Start me from the start of the day. And what happens when you select your cask?
All right, so basically for selecting a cask, if you're ever lucky to come up to our warehouse up in Greenore, basically going to bring you up. It's a whole day out. We are going to go up and basically drill into casks. We're going to taste them. We're going to have a flavor profile in mind that you guys are going to like or you guys want to have for your whiskey as well. It's basically one of those days where you want to have a big breakfast, because if you don't, you're going to be in trouble by the end of the day. Cask French whiskey all day. Once you do choose your cask as well, then that then is going to be bottled for you. So it's pretty much hand selected. It's not like you're going up and there's like samples laid out. So you go up with a drill and a cup or a cylinder, and you will drill straight into your cask. You will fill it up. You'll taste it. Everybody will taste it, and then in unison, obviously, whoever or whichever cask is going to be the one to be picked, then that's the one that you get, essentially. So it's very, very hands-on experience,
And I suppose if people go up with whiskey in mind, like they know what style they want, or is it more of a voyage of exploration?
Yeah, like when you do go up to a warehouse, if you're going up to select a single cask, normally, yeah, you will have either a style or a flavor or some sort of cask in mind that you want to have as your product. But in the past as well, people go up with one thing in mind and choose something completely different that they never thought they'd be able to try or have or see. So one great thing about Teeling is up in our warehouse, we have over 152 different styles of casks alone. So over 152 different styles of flavors we can pull from. So yeah, there's like constantly people coming up and like, I want this exact whiskey in this exact cask, but then they'll try something else. They're like, I've changed my mind. Actually, I want something different. Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's all experimentation. It's all trying it, seeing what you like, and then yeah, that's what you get. You know, it's a hand selected cask for yourself.
I love it. What in terms of so this pot still from Teeling, matured in that Bordeaux red wine. Can you give us a brief idea, like what are the kind of the house flavor characteristics of the pot still spirit versus the actual flavor from the Bordeaux?
Yeah. So with our own spirit of pot still, I kind of touched on it briefly with our fermentation, but we do get a lot of those tropical fruits, the papaya, the guava, the pineapple kind of notes out of that white wine yeast. But obviously, being a pot still, you're going to have that innate little bit of spice. If anyone's tried our core range pot still, you'll notice that that's actually a little bit of a white pepper spice. This one kind of turns into more of that kind of sweet cinnamon with that Bordeaux influence as well. But our pot still is going to have that fruity, spicy kind of characteristic that pot stills are known for, really.
And for you getting to jump into, of course, a single cask to a retailer like Irish Malt, almost be fun from your aspect of getting to taste different flavors of the Teeling warehousing and maturation that maybe another Bordeaux fully matured cocktail cask strength isn't readily available right now anyway.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I mean, we tried one there, obviously, with Acolyte and with their Bordeaux as well. So it's a good kind of comparison there as well. You know, we've two Bordeaux whiskeys, obviously one being single malt, one being a single pot still, but people can now kind of see the differences of what that core spirit is going to do to the whiskey. You know, obviously, a lot of your flavors come from the barrel, but that core spirit, if you have good core spirit as well, it's going to change the flavors a lot. Depending on what you're doing, whether it be a single malt or a single grain or a pot still or a peated malt, it's really going to change that kind of nuance on the actual cask influence of the whiskey as well.
Absolutely. And as we said earlier on, not only are you going to get the 10% discount on this whiskey, you also have 10-year off on the January sale. And the person that chose this whiskey was also the person who told me that these two discounts are running. And we sat in the office and said, will we make them separate discounts? And Lavinia, who picked the cast, said, nah, we're going to compound it, special deal for the Irish Malt customers. So it's a 10-year off and 10% off, the 10-year off. So they said, of course, shipped anywhere to your door where it is legal to do so. This fantastic Irish Malt single cask.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you do many of these a year for different markets, different retailers?
We do have a good few single casks out there. Like we have a good few for Celtic Whiskey, for J. Fox. Some bars even have some of our single casks as well. So yeah, we like to do a lot of kind of helping out as much as we can, really, for people who want to try different whiskeys, like being around different shows around Europe, like obviously big European exclusives too that we have, and especially in Germany. There's a lot of our exclusives going around in Germany too. But yeah, we like to kind of, you know, play around a bit and see what flavor profiles people like, and yeah, that's kind of like what we want to do. People, I've heard it multiple times at each show, like people come up to us and they come to Teeling to try something that maybe they haven't heard before, some sort of cast they haven't heard before, a flavor profile they didn't expect to find in an Irish whiskey. You know, it's one of those kind of pretty cool things to be out on the road and hear this feedback coming back to us as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always something interesting on the feeling stand. And I know your global brand ambassador Rob is in Hamburg right now.
Yes.
So showcasing the feeling wares. And when you're not joining us on 3 Drams, if anyone is wondering where you might have seen Adam face before, famous on TikTok, I believe.
Yeah, so apparently so. Yeah. That kind of was a shot in the dark we did, and it worked out. You know, we've gotten a lot of traction there on those. It's fun to do, and apparently now this is the face of Teeling. So you'll be seeing me all over online.
I was going to say Rob Caldwell eat your heart out, but Teeling Brothers eat your heart out. This is the new Stephen Teeling. But no, of course, I obviously have lots of things to do on social media, and I often see your face telling you secrets bartenders don't tell you.
I give myself a jump scare every now and again. I'm scrolling through TikTok or Instagram, just like pop up on my phone. I'm like, oh, there I am. Cool.
Don't read comment section, move on.
Yeah.
Well, for your elevator pitch, for if you wanted to tell people the quick top level notes about this Teeling single cast, why don't you give us the quick rundown for those who are joining us late?
Basically, with this single pot still, if you want something a bit sweet, a bit fruity, but also has that little bit of the classic pot still spice in there as well, this is one to go for. Especially it's being at that higher percentage, but goes down like it's at bottling strength, like with Teeling 46%. It is one of those whiskeys that you can just sip on throughout the night. Lovely long finish on it as well. But it's not one of those ones that's, as we said earlier, it's so outrageously expensive that you want to save it for a special day. You know, you want to share with friends, or you want to have it for a special occasion. It's kind of best of both worlds with this whiskey.
Absolutely. Well, I am delighted to hear you say that, because of course it is a fantastic craft strength whiskey that is now on double sale.
Double sale.
If you are a subscriber to 3 Drams, and if you're not, what are you doing? You got to get on this. But Adam, thank you so much for your time. I'm delighted you're able to join us. I hope you enjoyed sipping those other whiskeys as we went through the afternoon or the evening. I know it's taking time out of your Thursday night, so very big thank you to you. And to everyone watching at home, I am delighted you were able to join us. I am very thankful to the O'Donovan brothers who make Irish Malts happen, but of course to everyone in the background who works for Irish Malts and 3 Drams. They are the people that put this together. I am merely the face that shows up once a month. There's a very big team that goes into bottling, sourcing, organizing, shipping, dealing with couriers, and everything else in between. So a very big thank you to them, and to everyone watching at home, and to our 3 guests this evening. A huge thank you, and we will see you for the official episode 40 next month, where we're doing an incredibly interesting takeover with one of the I'm going to say it's not strictly fully an Irish whiskey that we're going to have next month, but is one of the most famous and recognizable faces of Irish whiskey brand ambassadors. So definitely check it out. Adam, to you, a huge thank you. I'm thrilled to have you on here. It's like TikTok's alive. I love it.
My pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
Perfect. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.